Hello, welcome to Words with Model Railway. My name's Mike and we're going to do a short tutorial today on how to rectify a small problem that's appeared on the layout using these Peco streamline points. I've had the track down for quite a long time now, and up until purchasing a new locomotive everything's been fine. I've had 10 different locomotives, steam, diesel, all run over these points and not one have gave an ounce of trouble. I purchased the Hornby B17 which ran fine for say 2 hours on the layout. Following day came up to run it, and I noticed when the locomotive was on shunting speed or crawling across the point work, I'd keep getting an electrical short. Now, after watching the locomotive for an hour going over these points back and forth, I noticed the problem was around this section here. This frog area is really tiny compared to the Hornby points, and what's happening is as the locomotive wheel or wheels get to this area here, you just see a little blue spark shorting against this rail, which is obviously the opposite polarity to this one. So to check if it was an electrical short, I definitely had with the points. I put some insulating tape just covering this, and the B17 ran across all the points that I modified with the tape without a problem. I thought it was cured and I was going to leave it like that until I tried the Bachmann Class 08, which has been running over these without any problems at all. But as soon as the Bachmann 08 got to this section, the tape was just thick enough to lift the wheels off this side of the rails and stop it and stall it. So what we're going to do, rather than buying Electra Frog points, I'm going to convert this Insul Frog point into a semi-Electro Frog point by doing some modifications on the back, and we'll use the seat motors to control the polarity on these two sections of rail here. So I'll try and show you what we're actually going to do using this point today. Right, so if we flip the point over onto the reverse side, I think this is the standard backing plate that they use for both Electro Frog and Insul Frog points. I only say that because I notice there is, where the wire comes out on the Electro Frog points, is actually embedded into this track work. So I suppose it makes sense when you're designing two types of points, you'd incorporate all the ducting you actually need. So to convert this to an Electro Frog point, you'll notice this has a wire from here to here. This means your switchblade takes the power from this track, and this wire from this one gives power to this switchblade. What we're going to do is cut this wire here, cut that wire there, bend them back and feed them out of here. This will be the common connection for the frog. Now sometimes when you're bending these back, this one survives, but on the two I've done so far, this one always breaks off. But don't worry about that, because you can bend this wire through here and get some solder down into there, and it'll attach to the rail and then feed your wire out, and then you can extend it with the appropriate colour wire that you're actually using for your frog. The other modification we've got to do is down here. You now need to solder a piece of wire from this rail to this switchblade, and from this rail to this switchblade. This means these become live at all time, and your frog is now dead. Now I won't bore you with the cutting of these, but what I'll do is I'll just nick the wires here and I'll bend them up, and then we'll put the camcorder back on so you can see the wires, and then I'll show you bent over and fed through coming back out here. Okay, I've used the utility knife just to sever that wire there and that wire there. I don't know if you can see that on the camcorder. Let's see if I can tilt it. There we go. Right, we will bend these back now so they follow the channel work up and out of this section here. Well, I have found there's some little nodules which actually capture the wire as it feeds through. You just need to clear these out with the utility knife and make this channel that little bit wider. Okay, we've got the connection soldered now. We've got this wire bent back, fed through the cable trough and soldered to this frog. It then comes outside of the point, and we'll be able to extend our frog polarity wire onto this a little bit later. You'll notice what I've done, it's easier doing it this way, I find, to actually solder one piece of wire through the point. And what I'm going to do now is just snip that off with some side cutters, cut that there, and we'll cut that there, and then that bridges the switch and this rail, and this short section connects this switch rail to this rail. So these will be constantly live, this will be constantly live, but this little V section in here now is isolated from the rest of the point work. So if we turn it over, you can see what we've done. There's the little wire connecting this switchblade to this rail. This wire connects this switchblade to this rail. We're no longer just relying on the electrical connection down here. So like when you're weathering the track, if you get too much paint in here, it can cause problems. It doesn't really matter now, because the electrical connection, even if it can't get access here, will come across this short wire onto this blade, and you'll have your connection. And then this is the little section here that I'm talking about now, that's completely isolated from rest of the track work. So when the polarity switches over, depending on which way the point's going, this is set to turn off. So that rail is now the same polarity as this rail. So even if the wheels do cross over, it won't short circuit because it's the same polarity now. And if we switch the point back so it goes straight, this section of the frog now becomes the same polarity as that one. So once again, as the locomotive goes over, even if the wheel touches this rail, it doesn't matter because it's the same polarity as this one. So I hope I've shown you something new today, and should you have any problems with your insole frogs with maybe a new loco that you've purchased and you want to keep the new loco and not buy new points, this is by far the cheapest and quickest option. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time here at Wordsworth Modern Railway.